here in Sunset Cliffs, San Diego. Just got out of a surf and was thinking about a little part of my past that I wanted to share that might help some of you guys. There was a time when I was engaged, and when I was about 24, 25, I think I was engaged at 24, married at 25, and while I was engaged, I had kind of a crisis moment where I realized that I didn't really want to be engaged because of the fact that I was heavily involved in the church community at the time, and I had this, church friend group, and I was going to seminary to, be a pastor, and I had a lot of external influences on me at the time that were kind of telling me this was the right path, that this was the thing that I needed to do in order to kind of move to the next step. And for someone training to be a minister, it's kind of important for you to start a family. And so, I had all these external reasons why I wanted to get married. And that's what spurred it to begin with. That's what made it something that I wanted to do in the first place, was just wanting to move to the next step. That's what people do, right? But once I got engaged, I realized that I was more following this external structure than I was actually following the flow of love in my relationship. And when I was honest with myself, when I was alone at night, I was like, well, I don't know if I really want to get married right now. So I was doubting it. And even though everyone was telling me not to break it off, I decided to break it off. And I went and decided to meet up with her. We met at a neutral location, and I told her it's over. I gave her back some things, and she was bawling her eyes out. She was crying. I said, okay, this is it. And then we split up. I started driving home, and about 3 or 4 minutes later, I get a call from her, and she's crying hysterically and saying that she's crying so much that she can't drive home. And she's parked in front of this carpet store. So I go back to see what's going on, and go back to this, to meet her in front of this carpet store, and she's absolutely hysterical. And at that moment, I gave in. I decided, you know what, maybe I'm just not thinking clearly, and maybe I do actually love this girl, and I should move forward with this. Kind of compressing the story a little bit, we went through the engagement, we went through the marriage, through the wedding and everything. And even the day of the wedding, my heart was really crying out this is not the right decision. This is not congruent to what you actually want. But I went through with it anyways. And there's varying reasons for that. I had the community around me kind of telling me, as I got to the point where I had a lot of self-doubt, and so I relied on the people around me to kind of help me decide what was the right course of action. And maybe you've been there before. The reason I bring that up is because I know that there are a lot of guys who are potentially in that same situation where they're in a situation, they're in a relationship, not necessarily because it's something that they know is best for them, not because it's something that they want for themselves, but they're in it because they would feel bad about leaving. And I want to explain a little bit just from my standpoint. I am not saying that I regret, I wouldn't change anything now, because through that marriage, my daughter was born, and with all of those events kind of leading up to where I'm at now and what my life is like, and with my daughter in my life, obviously, I wouldn't change anything, because there was a lot of beauty that came from that decision and from that relationship. And I'm so grateful that I was able to experience that and even be with her, my former wife, for that time. And I'm really grateful for that relationship. And I learned so much about myself and about being being married and just about life, right? So I'm very grateful for that experience. But because I wasn't truly honest with what I wanted and I wasn't living truly from within at that moment, it ended up causing a lot more pain down the road, and a lot more pain for her and a lot more pain for all kinds of people around me, and also for myself. When you're in this kind of situation, you know, all I can say is you got to think long term. Like, what do you want your life to look like? What do you imagine your life to be? And is this relationship, or is this thing that you're doing with this girl kind of keeping her in your life, even though she might be toxic, even though she might be dragging you down, or maybe she's not even toxic and intentionally doing anything bad, but you know that your heart isn't in it. You know, think about why it is that you're doing this. Like, is it because you don't think that you could do any better? Is it because you're like me, you're afraid that she might be hurt, her feelings might be hurt as a result of you leaving? Take the time to recognize where are you acting from fear rather than from the truth. This might be a fear that you have of being alone, a fear of hurting someone else, hurting someone else's feelings. And that is really where you want to go. That's where you want to bring your attention. And if you want to have the kind of life where you are free, that you're able to live on your own terms and truly from within, and not be walking on eggshells trying to impress someone, and not be in a relationship that you don't want to be in, then this is one of those steps that, especially as a dude, it's a maturity thing relationally that we need to get over, is recognizing that not everyone's meant to be together, and sometimes relationships have a run rate. I mean, in all cases, relationships do have a run rate, and everything beautiful must come to an end. And there's no shame in parting ways, and creating space and recognizing and expressing that need, that this is what needs to happen right now. My point in sharing this is to help you guys who maybe you're in that same situation, or who will be in the future, just to not make the same mistake that I did. Save yourself some pain, save yourself some heartache, and just kind of misaligned life circumstances that will come about if you are not being truly honest with who you are and what you want out of this life. That's all I got. Enjoy the day, get outside, get into nature, feel the wind, feel the sun. So there was something else that I wanted to add about this story, and it's that because of that pivotal moment where I gave in to her emotionality and reinstated the engagement, that basically set a precedent for our relationship that I had no idea was coming. And looking back, it's so clear in hindsight, but it set the basic frequency of the relationship to be something where her emotionality would then generate a certain result in my behavior. And it was kind of this like pattern that started to come through in our relationship. Me being an ignorant 25-year-old, I had no idea what was going on, and we just got into the cycle where if she didn't get what she wanted, there was an emotional reaction, and oftentimes I would want to appease the emotional reaction, and I just like adapt my behavior accordingly. Okay, and I think that's a very, very common thing for guys to get into, where you're in this, like, you're in the weeds with this girl, and you know, she's in every aspect of your life, and you know, a lot of life kind of becomes just like sort of wobbling around to manage this person's emotions. And what you're doing in that scenario is you're engaging in this feat of manipulation and or like emotional power dynamic and back and forth that is not gonna go well for you. Like for us guys, going into an emotional manipulation match with a woman is, you know, it's like suicide. You're not gonna win. This is something that they are far superior at us with, is, you know, using emotional reactions to generate a certain response and generate behavior in others. And, you know, it comes with the territory. I'm not complaining about women doing that, but you just have to understand that as a man who wants to be with women, it's just going to be a part of it, right? So my mistake there was not maintaining a frame of strength in my own purpose, in my own course of action, and showing my weakness, that I could be deviated by her emotionality. My whole action, my whole decision of where I wanted to go in life, at that point, it was able to be just turned on a dime. And, you know, instead of recognizing, you know, at that moment that I needed this time, I needed at least time to figure it out, you know. So let that be a lesson to you all in masculine frame. Learn from my mistakes and don't do the same so that, you know, you can live a better life. That's all. All right, guys, have fun living free. Much love.